Unexplained spaceship discovered in Antarctica. Haunted secrets from Earth's future revealed. Lisa sank into her worn-out couch, fatigue gnawing at her bones after another grueling shift at the gas station. As she flicked on the television, a piercing voice sliced through the evening stillness. Unexplained spaceship discovered in Antarctica. Haunted secrets from Earth's future revealed. Her heart raced. It wasn't the first time strange news stirred her tired mind, but this felt different. Shadows danced in the corners of her modest living room, and she flinched at the unnatural flicker of the screen. The news segment cut to scientists, wide-eyed and animated, fingers pointing at an otherworldly object encased in ice, looming like a menacing ghost. "What do you think, Mom?" Jake had wandered in, a playful grin on his face. She took a breath, trying to mask her unease. "Just a sensational story, honey." But as the days dragged and rumors swept through her community, she felt the weight of something darker closing in. Each night, her children's laughter had been a balm against the onslaught of bills piled like fallen autumn leaves. But now, Jake's bright smile began to flicker, replaced by restless nights muddled with fear. One evening, trembling and wide-eyed, he approached Lisa. "Mom, I had a dream about the ship. There was this family, they're calling for me." A chill scampered up her spine, echoing the news report. "It's just a dream, sweetheart," she murmured, but doubt slithered into her mind. Strange things began to happen. A neighbor's dog went missing, and the night air grew thick with unexplainable screams. The hairs on Lisa's neck stood on end. Familiar faces turned into gaunt memories, watching her from the edges of her vision. The happy chatter from once amiable neighbors turned into whispered exchanges filled with suspicion. Was she losing her mind? She clenched her fists, seeking clarity. Desperate for guidance, Lisa confided in her pastor, the soft-spoken man with a supposed connection to the divine. Her words were a torrent of panic. Jake's dreams, they feel wrong. But instead of comfort, his expression hardened. "My dear, you must tread lightly. Not everything is as it seems." Those ominous words haunted her, scratching at her sanity. The morning after, icy dread settled in her stomach. The rooms that once buzzed with energy were eerily quiet. She stumbled into Jake and Emma's rooms, heart thrumming violently. No disarray, nothing to hint they had ever been there. Panic splintered her mind. "Jake! Emma!" The walls echoed her despair, a hollow response to her frantic calls. How could they just vanish? The authorities dismissed her, patients in dark corners, murmuring skepticism behind closed doors. Lisa wrestled against despair, scouring her neighborhood for answers. The shadows she once ignored were morphing into monstrous shapes, pressing closer like a suffocating fog. Each encounter revealed whispers of long-held secrets, pledges entwined in darkness, all spiraling back to that ship in Antarctica. Every revelation drove her closer to the edge, her heartbeat racing like a countdown. She pictured Jake, alone in an abyss of chilling dreams. Had she trusted too much? Would she ever find her children? The thought shot shivers down her spine, the very ground beneath her trembling as the promise of horror loomed like an unyielding fog. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system, and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. With shadows creeping closer, Lisa felt the suffocating grip of her community tightening around her. The faces she trusted now seemed like masked players in a sinister game. Each fleeting moment felt like a countdown, but there was no clear answer, just an eerie silence enveloping her. Was her reality crumbling, or was it the start of something inexplicable? The answer lay just out of reach, lurking ominously behind every corner as she searched for the truth, desperate to find her children before it was too late. Lisa's chest felt tight. She grasped at the fabric of her reality, but it slipped like sand through her fingers. Jake and Emma were out there somewhere, their absence a gaping hole that twisted at her insides. Every scream in the night echoed her fear, resonating in her skull like a sinister drum. She decided to confront the chilling truth of the ship. Perhaps it had answers. With a surge of desperation, she traced her steps back to the gas station, the flickering lights buzzing above her head. The place felt wrong somehow. The usual hum of the register and the chatter of customers were replaced by a heavy silence. The air was thick, as if it held its breath. "Hey, Lisa," Dave, her coworker, appeared from the back room, looking more haggard than usual. "You all right? You look like you've seen a ghost." "I'm fine," she replied, though the tremor in her voice betrayed her. "People are talking," he said, shifting his stance. "About the ship. They think it's connected to the kids." Her pulse quickened. "What do you mean connected?" Dave leaned in, lowering his voice. "They say it calls to people, lures them somehow. That family in your dreams, maybe they've gone after something it promised them." An icy wave crawled down her spine. Promised? What could it possibly promise? Things they desire, power, safety, or perhaps escape. His words hung like a noose, tightening around her thoughts. Suddenly, the idea of the ship seemed more real, an unyielding specter just beyond the veil of her understanding. She glanced around, ensuring no one else was listening. "This is insane, Dave. What are you saying? Just be careful, all right?" He backed away slightly, eyes darting toward the entrance. People are disappearing. Fear snaked through her, coiling tighter. What if Jake and Emma had been drawn in, like moths to a flame? The uncertainty clawed at her mind. "Mom!" A voice broke through her panic, jarring her to the present. It was a little girl, the daughter of the gas station's regular customer. "Have you seen my dad? He went to the woods and never came back." Lisa's heart dropped. "What do you mean?" "When?" "Last night. He said he was going to see the funny lights. The ones that come from the ship." Her innocent eyes were wide, filled with a fear that struck Lisa like a dagger. Without thinking twice, Lisa grabbed the girl's hand. "Let us find your dad." Her feet propelled forward, fear mounting like a tide. Time was short. Whatever was happening, she needed answers, and she needed them fast. In the woods beyond the gas station, shadows lengthened menacingly. A chill wind blew through the trees, carrying echoes of laughter that twisted into agonizing shrieks. Lisa's mind raced. Was this where it began? Did the ship draw them here? The air became electric with a palpable sense of foreboding. Suddenly, in the distance, a flicker of lights dancing in the twilight like fireflies, but more sinister. The whispers grew louder, an eerie melody pulling at her senses, luring her. "Stay close," she called to the little girl, who clutched her tightly. As they trudged deeper, the whispers morphed into plaintive cries, twisted pleas for help. Her heart pounded as she neared the source. The ground felt spongy beneath her, as if she was stepping on memories. "Keep moving," she urged through gritted teeth. Then, a jarring silence fell. The light flickered out, plunging them into darkness. A hollow laugh echoed around them, disembodied and chilling. Lisa froze, her thoughts spiraling as the whispers morphed into her children's voices. "Mom, help us!" Lisa's breath quickened. "No!" She stumbled back, the little girl's hand slipping from her grip. "Mom, there is something here." The girl's voice faded as a figure emerged from the shadows, features obscured but menacing in its approach. Lisa's gut twisted. She had to make a choice, escape or face whatever was coming. The shadows pressed in, hungry for her decision. Would she run, leaving the girl and her own children behind? Or would she stand her ground and confront the darkness that had consumed her family? The figure loomed closer, eyes glinting with a horrifying promise. Lisa's heart raced, the weight of her choice collapsing over her. "What will you do, Lisa?" The whisper pierced the night, making her blood run cold. In that moment, she knew, with bone-deep certainty, that she had only begun to scratch the surface of this nightmare. Something awaited her, a truth that would change everything once she unveiled it. Was she ready to face what lay beyond the veil? The figure edged closer, its presence overwhelming and tangible, as if darkness had taken on form. Lisa could barely breathe, each heartbeat a hammer pounding against her rib cage. She felt the little girl's grip slip entirely, panic tearing through her. "Come back!" she shouted, desperation cutting through the thick air around them. But all that answered was silence, hollow and profound. The tension hummed like a predator in the shadows, its breath hot against her neck. "Mom!" A voice called again, soft yet chilling, echoing from the darkness. It was Jake, she was sure of it. Her heart squeezed tight, filling her with an urge that swung between fight and flight. The figure stopped, just out of reach, shadows shifting and swirling like smoke. A face began to materialize, blurred, unrecognizable but sickeningly familiar. It was as if the fabric of reality itself twisted to bring forth shapes from her nightmares. "Your children are lost!" it hissed, voice reverberating through the air, slithering into her mind. "Come with me! I can lead you to them!" "No!" She took a step back, spine pressed against a gnarled tree. "You're lying." "Am I?" It laughed, a sound that was low and gravelly, reverberating through the forest, splitting her resolve. "You come seeking answers, but the truth is rarely what you expect." Her resolve flickered, feeling every bone in her body ache with uncertainty. The ship, that damned vessel, was the heart of the fear pulsing through her town, bringing with it shadows of those souls it had swallowed whole. "What do you know?" she said, her voice steadier than she felt. "Tell me what you want." "It's not what I want," it replied, body morphing as it leaned closer, an invitation laced with menace. "It's what you desire, to know the fate of those you hold dear." Lisa's breath hitched, instinctively knowing she couldn't trust the darkness. Remembering the girl, had she run off? Whereas the girl? Panic flooded her chest, the threat of loss swallowing her whole. With a grin, the figure gestured, and Lisa's heart jolted as she caught a glimpse of bright light breaking through the trees. It pulsed in the distance, blinking like a lighthouse guiding ships to safety, but her instincts screamed dread. That light was the siren call of the ship, a promise of answers mixed with danger. "Follow it," the figure urged, feigned sweetness dripping from its voice. "The truth you seek will be revealed. Something must be done." There was no time to waste. The girl might still be in danger. But an unsettling thought flickered through her mind. What if the truth was worse than she could imagine? She had already lost Jake and Emma. How many more would she sacrifice in her search for them? The shadows swirled around her. A canvas of fear and anger felt like it was going to swallow her whole. It was suffocating. She needed to decide fast. "Show me, let me see," she demanded, stepping forward despite every warning bell screaming to do otherwise. The figure recoiled, darkness rippling around it like shadows being pulled back into a void. "Then join me." "No!" In a flash, she reached out, breaking through the barrier of silence with a scream that echoed like lightning. "No more hiding. If the ship calls, I will answer." The malevolent figure flickered, vanishing into the night, leaving her breathless and alone. The flickering light surged on, almost beckoning her like a lost child. But unholy whispers trailed from its source, soaking into her mind, wrapping her thoughts with unrelenting dread. What lay ahead was uncertain and haunting. Lisa started toward the light, heart pounding, unsure if she would find the children she loved or confront yet another horror waiting in the shadows. As she stepped into the glow, a bone-chilling realization washed over her. The truth had teeth, and it was waiting to bite. Could she bear what might await her at the end? Or would the cost of knowledge consume her? Only time would tell. The moment Lisa crossed the threshold of light, its intensity flared against her skin like the searing heat of the sun, but with a sickening, unnatural feeling. The world around her morphed, becoming both eerily beautiful and terrifying. Bright hues swirled before her, vibrant colors blending and twisting against an inky backdrop. She felt energy crackle in the air, like static before a storm. Two heartbeats echoed in her ears. One was her own, frantic and erratic. The other, faint yet unmistakably Jake's. It pulsed in rhythm with a flickering light, pulling her deeper into its embrace. "Jake! Emma!" she called, but her voice was swallowed by the colorful vortex. Each word felt heavy, laden with the weight of what she could lose. She squeezed her eyes shut, fighting against the overwhelming urge to fall into the light, to be enveloped by it entirely. The moment she opened them, the landscape had changed. A vast and hollow space stretched before her, an otherworldly expanse lit by unnatural luminescence. The ship loomed in the distance, battered and ancient, its once mighty form now twisted and gnarled, like the remnants of a long-forgotten legend. "Mom," the whisper was clearer now, mixed with a childish panic. "Mom, help!" She dashed toward the source, heart hammering, breath quickening. The sound guided her deeper into the ship's shadowy confines, where echoes of footsteps danced behind her. She could hardly tell if she was alone, the absence of light making it feel like 1,000 unseen eyes were watching, waiting. The ship creaked, groaned, and with each step, the air grew thicker, almost suffocating. Images flashed in her mind, split-second visions of past horrors, and moments she couldn't fully recall. Bloodied faces of the lost, her children's laughter intertwining with anguished cries. "Mom, please!" The voice became frantic, clearer now, a siren's wail that wrapped around her heart like barbed wire. She burst into a chamber, the space flooding with luminescent tendrils that reached toward her like serpents, desperate to ensnare her. In the center, a shimmering figure stood, a mirror of the girl from before, but twisted, distorted. Her eyes glowed white, an abyss of terror and pleading. "Where's Jake? Where's Emma?" Lisa cried out, her voice trembling. "They're here," the figure hissed, its voice fluid, like silk slipping through fingers. "But you have to choose. Are you ready to face the truth?" A dread unlike any she had felt clawed at her insides. "What truth?" "I need my children." The figure stepped aside, and the hallowed space beyond revealed two shadowy forms, locked in place. At the sight of them, a scream nearly escaped her lips. Jake and Emma stood motionless, eyes vacant yet filled with desperation. "If you want them back, you'll have to let go of the past. Each moment you linger brings you closer to losing them forever," the haunting figure warned, those eerie white eyes pinning her in place. Every instinct screamed to dash forward. She could save them. But another voice whispered, laced with temptation. What if the truth was worse? What if by saving one, she doomed the other? The shadows behind her surged forward, bubbling with rage, chasing her toward a decision, a convergence of fates. "Choose," the figure spat, as dissonant whispering filled her ears like thunderous rain. The weight of the moment pressed down on her chest. Her heart felt like it might explode, the distance between truth and hope hazy. She stood frozen, a crumbling dam about to break. Could she confront the reality of a world that had changed so ruthlessly? Or would the cost of this knowledge separate her from her children forever? The chamber shuddered, the air thick with uncertainty. Just beyond that barrier lay everything she feared and dreaded. Lisa inhaled deeply, then took a step toward her children, but would she be too late? "Mom," they whispered, voices laced with both hope and despair. The ethereal glow pulsed, waiting for her choice. Time was slipping away, and one tragic decision remained. What would she sacrifice at the altar of truth? The air thickened, a cold, clammy silence clamoring for attention, as Lisa's breath came in short gasps. Time felt distorted, stretching and warping as her heart raced. The figure loomed, eyes blazing like twin stars against the oppressive darkness, its presence both terrifying and intriguing. "Choose it," breathed, voice trailing like smoke, wrapping around her mind. "All will be revealed. But beware, facing the truth can shatter more than just illusions." The shadows swelled, gathering like storm clouds behind her. They whispered in disjointed fragments, cryptic hints of the horrors yet to unfold. Each whisper echoed with her past, the late nights spent worrying, the shadows lurking in the corners of the house, tugging at her sanity. "Mom, please." Jake's voice, edged with desperation, sliced through the murky gloom, igniting a primal instinct within her. "Hold on. I'm coming." But as the words left her lips, they felt less like a promise and more like a desperate illusion. She took a tentative step toward the children, but the soft glow from the figure pulsed violently, illuminating grotesque distortions writhing in the corners of her vision. They were fragments of her fears, memories blended together, swirling like a storm beckoning for release. Each instance threatened to drown her in self-doubt. "Two paths lie before you," the figure declared, its voice echoing in the expansive chamber. "Two futures waiting to unfold. But be warned, one path conceals a truth that could tear apart the very fabric of your reality." Lisa faltered, the weight of the choice crushing her under its enormity. There had to be a way to save them both. The thought of choosing between them felt like pulling her own heart in two. The shadows thrummed with impatience, feeding on her uncertainty. Suddenly, Emma's eyes flickered with life, flickering between despair and hope. "Mom, don't listen to it. We're here. We're not lost." The disparity between her children's forms and those shadowy specters clawed at Lisa's very being. What did it mean to save them? To lose them? The air was saturated with a chaotic energy that felt both exhilarating and terrifying, as if reality itself was about to unravel at the seams. "Choose." The figure hissed again, agitated, as its elongated fingers stretched toward her, betraying hints of long-forgotten sorrow. "You have until the final heartbeat." Panic seeped into her thoughts. Time was a thief, ready to snatch all peace from her grasp. Instinct kicked in, all those sleepless nights spent wondering if they were safe, if they could have been. Could they have been happier? "Mom." The plea trembled in the air, thick with longing. In an instant, seconds felt like hours. Lisa was haunted, caught in an indecisive void, where every choice seemed to threaten everything she held dear. A chasm opened in the chamber, dark and hungry, engulfing the light. Shadows crawled toward her children, eager to pull them into oblivion. "No!" The word tore from her throat, raw with anguish. The shuddering walls echoed back her desperation, vibrating as if the very ship betrayed its own history. Everything felt alive, pressing against her, demanding she make a choice, demanding she act. But was it too late? The suffocating darkness enveloped her, dragging her thoughts toward an unsettling realization. Was it truly her choice to make, or had fate already damned them all? The uncertainty clawed deeper, a fear rooted in the sinister possibilities yet to unfold. There, within the flickering glow, the figure watched her, an unblinking witness. Terror hung heavy in the air, waiting for its moment. What lay beyond the truth she hesitated to embrace? Was her heart ready to carry the weight of revelation, or was she destined to lose everything if she dared to step forward? Unseen entities watched, waiting for her answer. The chamber groaned again, tension rising, as the choice was about to unleash unfathomable consequences. Would she abandon her past, or cling to the fading light of hope? And in that fraught moment, a pulse shuddered through the ground beneath her feet. crackling and swirling. The walls trembled, and something awakened in the depths of darkness. What horror lay in wait? The ground shook beneath her, the pulse rising, thrumming like a heartbeat gone wild. Lisa staggered, overwhelmed by a cacophony of sensations: fear, hope, guilt, and dread twisted into a tight knot in her gut. "Mom, don't." Jake's voice pierced through the haze, its urgency laced with a deep-seated terror. The shadows lunged, crawling like hungry serpents, inching ever closer to her children. The figure loomed over her, unyielding, its presence like an executioner waiting to deliver judgment. "Choose." It hissed again, the barbed words echoing harshly in the small chamber, every syllable suffocating. Time stretched, the room darkening further, smothering her senses like a thick fog. Lisa's heart raced. What if this choice was a lie? What if the path she hesitated to embrace led only to more torment? The wall shifted. Had they always been this close? "Mom." Emma's voice broke through, fierce with an unexpected strength. "We can fight it. Together." Together, the word hung thick in the air. Could they really fight this entity? Or were they simply grasping at threads of hope, strung from fear? Fear that manifested into this dark entity, feeding off her doubts. Her choices rattled in her bones, simmering with an anxiety she had buried for far too long. "Choose," the figure yelled, its patience waning, rage seeping through the cracks of its enigmatic facade. The shadows loomed larger, grotesque forms whispering promises of safety, viciously pulling at her heartstrings as Lisa gazed into the flickering darkness. What if her hesitation sealed their fates? The choice was hers, yet she felt trapped, destined to fail if she couldn't discern the truth lying under the surface. "Mom, you can't let it win," Jake cried again, his voice breaking with every word. She took a shaky breath, the air thick with foreboding. The shadowy figures morphed and shifted, tormenting her with visions of her failures, insecurities parading like perverse phantoms. Did they see her as a failure? As a mother who had lost control? No! Lisa screamed, her voice raw, shattered by the weight of her thoughts. "I won't let you hurt them." The cycle of doubt spiraled tighter. She was caught in its endless loop, her heartbeat synchronized with the flickering pulse of the figure, the shadows, the room all entwined in a sinister dance. The wall shuddered violently, as if the very space around her recoiled from her protest. A breathless moment hung suspended in the air, punctured only by the whispers clawing at her sanity. "I choose." The air cracked with a sudden chill that froze her breath. But as she opened her mouth to name her choice, Jake stumbled, and her focus shattered, refocusing on her children at risk. The shadows surged, shifting toward them eagerly, hungry for their light. Lisa's blood roared in her ears. She was losing them, and no choice would be enough. The chamber erupted, the figures in the dark howling as if the very truth were disintegrating before them. Suddenly, in a burst of flickering light and movement, the darkness receded momentarily, revealing a glimmer of the children as true forms, alive, vibrant, pleading. But then, a soft laughter echoed from the figure, chilling and mocking. "So you wish to protect them? Yet here they are lost in the gloom, just as you've always feared." Lisa felt the shattering revelation worm its way into her mind, like a parasite anchoring itself to her heart. What if their very essence was trapped here? The shadows swirled, a whirlwind of darkness waiting to claim them all. She had to act. But what if the ultimate truth was far worse than the chaos around her? "Make your choice, or you'll lose them forever," the figure taunted, its voice an oily whisper that oozed malice. As the darkness deepened, Lisa's heart thundered in her chest. The moment had arrived, burning with the urgency of 1,000 shadows straining at the cusp of reality. But could she save them? Or would confronting the horror reveal a nightmare even she couldn't endure? A violent shudder swept through the chamber, and the walls pulsed, craving her reaction. And then it happened. A door behind the figure cracked open, revealing a blinding light that beckoned with unsettling allure. What lay beyond could be salvation or the start of something far worse. Would she dare step through, or remain shackled under this nightmare? Time was running out. Lisa's thoughts raced, tearing at her, pushing her toward that lid door. It called out like a siren, promising warmth, safety, relief from the torment that clawed at her heart. But the figure loomed in her periphery, a dark sentinel, its laughter slithering through the air. "No! Stay with me!" she shouted, eyes darting back to Jake and Emma, who stood frozen, their features twisted in terror. The shadows writhed around them like a living entity, ready to devour anything that strayed too close. "Mom, we're not afraid," Emma yelled, though Lisa could hear the tremor beneath her brave facade. "We can fight it." Their words struck her like a lifeline thrown into stormy waters. Was it possible? Could they banish this darkness together? The thought ignited a spark of defiance deep within her. "Together," she echoed fiercely, stepping forward, determined to reclaim her children from the monstrous grip of shadows that threatened to engulf them. The air thickened as she approached, like wading through viscous tar, but she pushed through, her arms outstretched. "Stay close. We can do this," her voice echoed, resolute. The very timbre of her cries vibrated against the walls, causing the shadows to momentarily recoil, as if her unity with her children was a light they feared. But the figure tightened its grip on reality. It silently watched, a predator relishing the hunt, waiting for her to falter. Its eyes glinted like shards of glass, reflecting nothing but malice, and in that gaze, Lisa felt the weight of her insecurities. What if she was leading them into deeper despair? "Choose!" It bellowed again, fury lacing each syllable. The darkness twisted violently, slimy tendrils snaking toward her, a dark web of despair that echoed her very thoughts. "Run! Get to the light!" Lisa shouted, feeling the burgeoning panic grip her throat. "Don't leave you!" Jake's words were a choked sob, each syllable tugging at her heart, trying to bind her to the dread. Suddenly, the chamber surged, walls pressing inward, closing like a vice. The laughter of the figure rolled like thunder, shaking the ground beneath her feet. The flickering light behind it pulsated, a stark contrast against the encroaching gloom. It was a choice balanced on the edge of a knife stay and fight, or leap into the unknown. "Mom, what are we gonna do?" Emma whimpered, hands clasped together, knuckles white with fear. With a surge of emotion, Lisa's clarity sharpened. "We fight. Together," she cried, the words crashing out in defiance. She reached for her children. In that instant, she felt a crack in the shadows, just a glimmer, but enough for hope to burst forth. The room responded with a furious howl, the darkness recoiling as if sunlight had touched it. "Your light will not save you," the figure screeched, an unholy anger swelling in its voice. But the children mirrored her resolve, stepping forward, their hands clutching hers, forming an unbreakable bond. They were no longer just shadows. They were her lifeline, unwilling to be consumed by the darkness. In a swift motion, Lisa yanked them toward the crack of light, its brilliance aiming to swallow the encroaching shadows. It beckoned them, a promise of salvation, but with every inch they gained, the figure shrieked, fracturing time and space around them. The chamber trembled like a living thing, and for a moment, the darkness faltered, hesitating against their united front. But would it unleash its full wrath as they neared the exit? "Let us go!" Each step made the shadows writhe. The laughter turned to a frenzied wail as the room threatened to collapse around them, a last-ditch effort to reclaim its power. With terror clawing at her throat, Lisa pushed forward, the boundaries of reality stretching thin, and the light beckoning them home or perhaps into another terror-laden realm. "Hold on!" The air crackled with electricity. But the moment before they crossed the threshold, the figure hissed a final, chilling command. Your choice matters make it or suffer for eternity. The light engulfed them just as the ground beneath fractured. Darkness howled, echoing their fate. Had they escaped or awakened something far worse? The big question loomed as they tumbled into the blinding expanse. What lay on the other side? They landed hard, the world smacking them like a fist. Light exploded around them, swirling in colors that shouldn't exist. Lisa squinted, disoriented, her body aching from the abrupt arrival. "Mom, are we okay?" Emma's voice pierced through the chaos, shaky yet filled with hope. But Lisa couldn't answer. They were not in the dark chamber anymore. It was different. The air was thick, cloying, and it shimmered with an unnatural fervor. Above them, a sky of swirling shadows twisted like a pot of dark ink. Beneath their feet, the ground was sterile and cold, a glacial surface that cracked under their weight. "Jake!" "Emma!" Lisa called out, fear creeping in. "Here, Mom!" Both children stumbled toward her, their faces pale yet untouched by the horrors they had just fled. The light dimmed to a ghostly glow, revealing jagged icy formations jutting from the ground like tombstones. Each formation seemed to pulse, as if the land itself was alive. "Where are we?" Emma whispered, the vulnerability seeping through her bravado. I don't know." Lisa's heart raced, her body tingling with an ominous apprehension. As they gathered their bearings, a low vibration surrounded them, the rumble echoing through the ice. Shadows danced at the periphery of their vision, crawling up from the depths like long-forgotten fears. "Stay close," Lisa instructed, pulling her children tight against her. The shadows continued to flicker at the edges of their eyesight, whispering insidious tales too low to hear clearly. Suddenly, the ice cracked loudly beneath them, splitting like thunder. The earth groaned, and out of the fissure crawled long, thin shapes that emerged from the depths, slick with ice and darkness. They slithered across the ground, almost serpentine, their movements fluid and long. "Mom! Look out!" Jake shouted, his arms flailing in panic. "Run!" Lisa screamed, her instincts kicking in. They dashed away, the ground trembling with every beat of her heart. A slithering shadow lunged toward them, forcing them to veer, the initial panic igniting desperation as they searched for safety. But the icy protrusion seemed to grow taller, closing in like a forest of despair. Every direction felt wrong. It was like a maze with no exit. "Over here!" Emma pointed, her voice slicing through the chaos as she spotted an opening, a narrow passage framed by the jagged ice. Without thinking, Lisa grabbed her children's hands and sprinted into the gap. The shadows chased them, howling ferociously, echoing off the icy walls. The whispers grew louder, revealing fragmented thoughts that twisted in her mind like a cyclone of fears. "You will not escape, you will linger." The passage narrowed, laughter rising in pitch as their pursuers edged closer. The walls pressed in, the cold seeping deeper, gnawing at their resolve. "Faster!" Lisa urged, terror drumming in her heart. As they pushed through the dark, they emerged into a vast underground chamber. It opened before them, glowing with a ghostly blue light. Strange symbols covered the walls, pulsing in rhythm with the racing shadows outside. "What is this place?" Jake gasped, all mingled with fear. 1,000 whispers flooded the space, a forgotten language that vibrated against their skin, familiar yet foreign. And then, from the shadows, a figure emerged, a haunting presence draped in a cloak woven from shadows, its face hidden deep within the hood. "Welcome," it intoned, voice like ice lapping at their very souls. "You've come seeking truth, but truth comes with a price." Lisa felt the weight of its gaze, an unyielding force that wrapped around her. "Mom!" Emma clutched Lisa's arm tight, eyes wide with tears. "What do we do?" As the fear tightened around them like a vice, Lisa grappled with a chilling realization. They hadn't left the darkness behind. They had only stepped deeper into its embrace. "Speak your truths or become one with the void," the figure declared, the shadows slithering closer, eager. Lisa's heart raced. What truth had they unearthed, and what price must they pay? Caught between the desire for safety and the terrible lure of answers, they stood motionless, terror gripping them even more tightly than before. What lay hidden in the depths of their connection to the shadows? What choice hovered just out of reach? The room hummed with energy, the shadows coiling closer, eager tendrils wrapping around an eerie calm. Lisa could feel their weight thick, suffocating. The cloaked figure moved forward, its steps silent on the frozen ground. Goosebumps crawled across her skin as dread knotted in her stomach. In the dim glow, she caught glimpses of Emma and Jake. Their faces, usually so vibrant, were marred with confusion and fright. Emma's eyes darted around, searching for an escape. Jake stood stoic, fists clenched. Fear had transformed them, as it was transforming her. "What truth?" Lisa forced the words out, her voice small against the cacophony of whispers surrounding them. "What do you want from us?" "Everything has its price," the figure rasped, the shadows shifting in response, pulsating with anticipation, like a beast hungering for sustenance. Lisa's heart thudded painfully as the whispers morphed, piercing her thoughts, attempting to break her resolve. Memories she tried to bury floated to the surface, fears of failing as a mother, of losing her children to a world that devoured hope. "Mom!" Jake broke through her reverie, tugging on her sleeve. "We can't stay here. We have to go." But the passage they had come through was gone, sealed off as if it had never existed. Walls of ice pressed against them, shimmering with some otherworldly light, trapping them in this frozen nightmare. "Your connection to the shadows draws you here," the figure pronounced, tilting its head, but its face remained hidden, a void shrouded in darkness. "You must sever that bond. What truth do you wish to see?" Lisa thought of the stories the children had shared at bedtime, tales of bravery and triumph. They had always been safe in those worlds, but here no protection, no escape. Just them, faceless enemies, and the non-living whispers that seemed to relish their fear. "I'll speak," Emma shouted, voice trembling yet defiant. "I want to know why we're here. What do you want from us?" Silence swept the chamber, the shadows recoiling as if shocked by her boldness. The light flickered, revealing the strange symbols around them, each one glowing with an intensity that twisted her stomach. The figure studied Emma for a moment, then spoke again. "Every choice carries a ghost. What you reveal may haunt you." "I don't care." Emma spat, her fear morphing into a sudden burst of bravery. "We will not be afraid." The tension thickened in the air. Shadows lunged forward, but the figure raised a hand, stilling them. "So be it," it said softly, almost reverently. "Speak your truth, and the path shall be revealed." Lisa grabbed Emma's shoulder, squeezing tightly, the warmth of her daughter grounding her. "No! We can't," but Jake shouted, "Do it, Emma. We have to know." His voice rang clear in the chaotic space. Struggling with the weight of their past and uncertain futures, Emma drew a breath, the shadows curling around her like smoke. "I'm afraid of losing us. I'm afraid we will disappear into the darkness." A hush enveloped them. The figure stood motionless, absorbing her fear like a sponge. Suddenly, the wall shook, the pulsing symbols flaring with a blinding light. With every word Emma dared to speak, shadows writhed and twisted, and Lisa felt the ground tremble beneath her feet. Would revealing their deepest fear free them, or had they just opened a door to something worse? "No!" Lisa shouted, grabbing her children, pulling them close, but the light enveloped them. "Choices have consequences," the figure murmured, the shadows lunging. As the ground cracked beneath them, Lisa's instincts kicked in. She turned, searching for any way out. What other truths waited to be revealed? Would they recognize the path the shadows opened to them? In that moment, the chilling realization dawned upon them. What if facing the truth meant facing their worst nightmares, crafted from the very fibers of their souls? Time was slipping through her fingers like sand, and the shadows were ready to take what they had offered. How far would they go to obtain their freedom? What darkness lay ahead as they took their next leap? Into the unknown? The air crackled as the luminous symbols pulsed around them, vibrating with energy, demanding both a response and an understanding. What now? Lisa thought, anxiety twisting deep in her stomach as the sound of the whispers crescendoed, drowning out their silenced fears. Face it. We must embrace our truth. Emma's voice pierced through the swirling chaos, but Lisa wanted to scream. What if that truth shattered them? She held on to Jake and Emma, grounding herself against the looming darkness that threatened to engulf them. Shadows curled and danced at the edges of her vision, always lurking. Suddenly, the figure made a swift motion, casting aside its shadowy cloaks. Speak, it commanded, voice icy and demanding. Triggered by fear and desperation, Lisa felt her heart racing, but deep down, a flicker of resolve ignited. Fine. We're scared. Scared of losing control of you. Of everything. She yelled, the admission ripping through her soul like a jagged bolt. She could feel the words vibrating in the very core of her being, pushing aside the hushed whispers vying for her attention. The figure's gaze pierced through them, sensing the raw honesty in her words. And behind it, the shadows recoiled slightly, as if repulsed by the courage it demanded of them. Excellent, it hissed, shadows swirling with malicious delight. But your truths will come with a price. Prepare yourself. The shadows shimmered, stretching outwards. Lisa felt each pulse sinking into her bones like ice. Mom! Jake cried out, eyes wide with concern as the darkness danced around them, feeding off anxious energy. Suddenly, the air thickened. The shadows erupted forward, swirling in a chaotic frenzy, moving as if drawn to their collective fear. No! Lisa shouted, her voice crackling with urgency. She hugged her children tightly, igniting a surge of warmth, a remnant of love against the freezing fear they all felt. We're stronger together. Panic and dread coursed through her, but she pressed on, her instincts picking up the rhythm of their heartbeats, steady, resolute. Together, Emma whispered fiercely, squeezing Jake's hand. The shadows surged forward, but their united front seemed to hold the darkness at bay. The glowing symbols flared, illuminating their corner of the world with pulsating energy, illuminating the contours of their surroundings, casting light on the cloaked figure's intentions. Then your journey begins, the figure said, its words reverberating ominously through the chamber, as if the very walls were responding. You will need to confront what lies ahead. In an instant, the ground beneath them shimmered, transforming from solid ice into a glistening crystal surface that stretched out endlessly. Flashes of light erupted as they stared into it, visions pulsing like a heartbeat, a world of untold possibilities, drenched in colors they had yet to comprehend. Step forward and know your desires, the figure beckoned, voice soft like a whispering wind. But be warned, the truth's embrace holds pain beyond your measure. Lisa felt a chill. This was their moment. They could finally step away from the suffocating depths of the shadows. She squeezed her children's hands tighter, whispers of dread still tickling at her mind. They hesitated for just a moment as shadows loomed, but Lisa steeled her resolve, pushing them forward into the light. One step, then another. The light swirled around them, transforming fears into racing thoughts, visions unraveling, memories cascading like torrents of water crashing together. They stood on the precipice, knowing they had to leap. I'm not afraid, Emma shouted, her voice breaking through the tumult, a beacon of strength. Then, without looking back, they plunged into the glowing expanse. The moment they crossed, a kaleidoscope of visions enveloped them, each one scratchy and menacing yet curiously familiar. They tumbled through a whirlwind of darkness, memories swirling around them, fear and pain intermingling with love and happiness. "Mom, hold me!" Jake cried as the shadows clawed at their footsteps, threatening to pull them back into the swirling abyss, but they pressed on. Every instant became a blur, and suddenly they landed hard on solid ground, the light erupting in blinding intensity. "We're here!" Lisa cried breathlessly. They stumbled to their feet, recognizing the vibrant place alive with laughter and sunlight. It was a memory, their backyard from long ago, filled with warmth, pinwheel colors, and laughter. The air smelled sweet, like fresh grass after summer rain. This was a moment frozen in time, untouched by the darkness that had haunted their existence. "Mom?" Jake looked around, searching with cautious hope. "Is this real?" Lisa kneels beside them, inhaling deep and filling her lungs with the essence of joy. "This is real. We created this." With tears shimmering in her eyes, she caught their worried gazes, now at peace. But shadows lingered still, whispers of the past echoing softly in the corners of her heart. "We cannot linger," she reminded them, the truth catching up desperately to reclaim them. "We need to keep moving." Just as they turned to leave, the laughter surrounding them warped into ominous echoing, an unsettling reminder that perhaps joy could breed darkness. With a determined breath, Lisa grasped her children's hands, looking fiercely into their frightened eyes. "We'll face whatever comes together. We love each other, and that love is our greatest strength." With renewed determination, they walked forward as shadows chased their steps. Reality fluctuated, echoing the uncertainty that lay ahead. But as long as they stood united against the torrents of terror, they might just find their way into the light. In that moment, hope ignited like a wildfire, pushing back the darkness that threatened to consume them once more. The truth may be complex and raw, but Lisa knew they would face it. Together, facing forward, the shadows would no longer define them. As they stepped through the ethereal landscape, ready for what awaited, the shadows receded, and the gleaming promise of a new path shimmered just beyond the horizon, one marked with courage and connection, a future they would weave together, no longer anchored by fear. The cold clutches of despair slipped away as they ventured beyond, ready to embrace each new dawn filled with possibilities, finally free from the haunted past tethering them down. They were whole, and nothing could take that away from them. This was the moment begin anew. They had choices, strength, and, most of all, each other. Now, in this leap toward an unknown but bright horizon, the adventure awaited. The world was theirs to reclaim. Don't let this moment end here. You need to subscribe now. Hit that button so you never miss a powerful story like this. Smash the like button to fuel the algorithm. Let us keep these tales alive. Flood the comments with your reactions and theories. What will happen next for Lisa and her kids? And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who must see this epic conclusion. Show your support. True fans know the importance of spreading the love.